You are live.
All right, Norwalk Historical Commission meeting for June 23rd, 2021. Call to order. I don't know what I'll do next, but anyway.
Attendance.
Attendance, oh yes, so we have me, Mark, Eric, Tom. I guess that's, are we missing, who are you missing? What can I count that? Oh, Liz, Holly. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 commissioners. Okay. That's 4.
Did you say if Barry was coming?
No, he's not. But we still are missing Lisa and Liz.
No, Liz is here.
Oh, sorry, there you are. Okay, good. So still missing Holly, but Lisa, Ileana, and Barry could not be here tonight.
Well,
So that,
wait, do you have, oh, there you go, there's Holly.
okay.
So you have a quorum, then you have 5?
Dana?
Yes.
Someone named Jordan Hensley asked if he could be promoted.
Yes, there he is. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm in. I think it worked.
The
Okay.
city hall doesn't like him. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't know. They said something about my name being spelled wrong, but I took that as it being fixed, but I still never got the link, so.
Oh yeah, 1991 is not a legitimate name, apparently. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Yeah, that's a quorum. Okay, so have we all read the minutes? And are there any changes to the minutes? Did anyone find?
Well, then I'll move acceptance in the minutes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's see, is that Liz?
I wasn't at the last meeting,
Oh,
so do I
okay.
have to abstain?
Okay, so that's
Dana?
Holly. Holly, you can
Dana?
unmute yourself.
Dana, you need
Yes.
to call for a second.
Oh, a second. And who want to do a
I
second?
will second that.
Okay, terrific. So,
Hey,
Minutes-
just an aside on that. Just
Yes.
the city, it's interesting, the city doesn't use seconding, but I know
Oh.
the commission has, but so I don't know what the history of that is. David, maybe you do. I don't really care, but if the practice is the second, fine. But we don't do it on the council level.
okay.
Well, we always have, and I know the redevelopment agency commission does, and second taxing district does. I mean, all the meetings I go to,
It's
There's always-
Robert's rules.
a second, yeah.
So second it is then, okay, fine.
Yeah, that's basic Robert's rules. I know I use it at the Exchange Club too.
I mean, if you want to do Bob's rules, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, we use Masons on the council, so.
Okay, so next, is there any public participation? I don't see any extra people here, so I'll say none of that. None of that, not that way. And next, reports from the boards. And is Diane here? Susie remarkably was able to attend, and Patsy. So let's have Susie next from Lockwood Matthews Mansion.
Is Patsy here? Because I'm sure
Yes.
she'll.
I just had trouble getting in, that's all.
Okay, so Patsy, you want to talk about the construction a little bit, and then I'll talk about the.
Okay, well, we're moving along. We expect to have the first ideas of estimates, rough estimates, by the end of July. We did have a wonderful opportunity offered to us, and several of us went into New York City to visit the Frick Museum on Friday. They're under construction with, I think, a $200 and some million project. And the head of that project invited us in for a tour And it was really based on seeing in reality the preservation efforts that they have taken to protect the surfaces within the building. So it was very beneficial. We're very grateful for it. Other than that, on the construction, we are now aggressively looking for space to move our collections and our management out of the building. We have already looked at about 5 or 6 places, but we're now gonna hone in on it in the next few months. And that's very complicated. So that's basically where we are with the construction. We're also participating with the redevelopment agency's review of the master plan, the new master plan proposal that's underway. And interestingly enough, you know, our $1.2 million new iron historic fence is up, as you know, and it's being dedicated next week. And already we have 2 huge banners. I don't know, David, if you've seen them. 2 banners hung right at the entrance on the fence, on the new fence. So we've got to do something about that. It's exactly opposite for the intention to make the entrance to the park very attractive, but the arts program for this weekend, and then music in the park have they're probably 8-foot banners hung on the fence. So something needs to be done about that. I wondered.
So
if-
do we want to stop putting banners on the fence altogether? Because I know the mansion
this is
does use
on,
it as
you know,
well.
we've
It
all
shouldn't
been
be on
using
the,
page wire fencing. This is on the new iron.
oh, on the new
fence.
fence. Yeah, no, it shouldn't be
Yes.
there.
It's,
yeah.
it's outrageous. Outrageous.
Have you talked to Ken Hughes?
I called him today and I didn't get a call back. But I think in order to stop it, that the any ability to use the park contract has to have that is a clause in the contract that you cannot hang signs on that historic fencing.
Right.
Well, if you don't have any success with Ken, let me know.
I'm sure I can get the arts one moved since I'm in it.
Okay, well, they have another one that's on the page wire fence, which is fine.
Okay.
That's where
Right.
we're using it. But the people
It's,
in the park, you know, Stepping Stones and ourselves and are respectful of that fence. And, you know, now it's like boom, right in your face as you pull into the park.
yeah, I'm home visiting family in Texas right now. I mean, otherwise I would just go over there and take them down. I have no problem doing that.
Well,
So if
I
somebody
was
feels so supposed, take them down.
well, I don't think, you know, we're not going to do it. You know, we want them down though.
What's the music one for?
There's a new program, it was in the paper the last few days. They're gonna
The
be music
conservatory.
Oh, okay.
in the park.
They're new. I mean, they're a new group, so they probably don't know and nobody's telling them.
Well, exactly, but we gotta be proactive and take care of it.
Well, yeah, and it's not like we have a set of codified rules. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's what needs to be addressed through
Well,
Parks and Rec,
well-
along with a number of other things.
Yeah,
with
but
the park.
David, there is a lease that we sign, an agreement with anybody has an event in the park. And so
Right.
my thought is that's gotta be part of the lease agreement.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of issues with those agreements, like no driving cars on the grass and parking under trees and killing trees, which they always do. And the banners, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be put on there. So,
Anyway, that's what I have to report unless anybody has any questions?
I think I mentioned this to you, Patsy, but Brian Bedoli want to make sure I did that they're willing to give you the entire building that they're in, the basement, first and second floor, if you want it, because they have some other space they could move into, I think at 50 Washington or someplace. You
Talking
could
about
take over that.
redevelop-
You could take over
redevelop-
that whole building, the building on Belden, if you wanted it, the whole thing.
Great.
So that's an option. There's all the expense that goes with it, but they just don't need all that space. And I think they've identified other space, but they have the lease, but it could work.
Okay. How many square feet is that building?
I don't remember. I can find out for you, but it was quite a lot of space.
Yeah.
And if you could keep
Stairs
the
is
staff
another
on the
issue.
first floor.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
but
thanks
anyway,
for the
there's-
information. But anybody else ever come across something, just please let us know. That would be helpful.
Okay.
Patsy, when are you looking to close the mansion to
Well,
start?
we don't want to use the word close anymore. Okay, we are relocating and we are going to have other venues. Actually, Susie and I are going to the mall tomorrow to look at potential space there. So we are going to have different locations, but we do have to physically move out of the building for a minimum of 2 years. So we need to maintain a presence with not only in the community of Norwalk, but in Fairfield County. We were on a great momentum and now this is a challenge, which we're willing to meet, but it is a challenge. So it's going to take all of us being focused on preserving the momentum that we have going with our programs, and we're in the process of figuring out all of those things. That helps to answer your question. And we need different types of storage space. We need workspace management, administrative. We need humidity controlled space for our collections. We need archival space where we can work on the archives over the 2-year period. So it's complicated. And we're right now quantifying the different amounts of space that we need for different types of storage.
Does anybody know what's going on with the Riverview Plaza, the old AutoZone Pathmark area? I mean, it's been abandoned for forever.
Yeah, no, I drove by that the other day and was thinking, boy, that would be great space. Of course, it's costly to rent something. So that's another whole issue of how we're going to finance that. There's only about 40,000 in the projected budget to do it. And
I heard that building was sold, but I don't know if that's completely true or not. Something to a ballet company, dance college or something, but I haven't heard anything else.
Yeah, and I guess the condition it's in would not be suitable to move right in.
it would not, you said?
Well, I mean, if the building's been abandoned or left empty, I'm just not sure.
That old of-
Yeah, I live in the Avalon building right adjacent to that building, and at least the ground floor you can see right in, and like the ceiling's falling down, and it's definitely not move-in ready.
So we'll put it in Jordan's place. Oh, we got room.
We probably do. There probably is. I think there is office space in this building.
Does Susie have anything?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm here. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Thank you, Dana. So we have collaborated with everyone in the park on a scavenger hunt, which could have been a disaster because it was 95 degrees that day. But actually, we had about 50 people join in, and it was festive and fun. And everybody participating seemed to have had a lot of fun. We are currently working on our 14th annual Old Fashioned Flea Market, and it's good to see that we have a lot of vendors registering and things are going quite well, despite what happened last year and COVID and everything. We have two great talks. One is actually imminent, is on July 11th, and it's by award-winning curator and scholar Lynn Bassett, and she's going to be talking about textile of the home front, Civil War stories. And then in September, we're going to have another talk with Darren Ryman Locke, who, as you all know, worked with David on the project to build the signage, the historic signage for the park. And she, while she was researching that, she uncovered some very interesting history on the mansion itself. So I asked her to join us and join our members and friends to talk a little bit about what she uncovered, and she was very nice to say she would do that. We're also working on a gala that's going to be on October 16. The gala is dedicated this year to highlighting architecture and design and the mansion's construction. And we're going to have David Scott Parker as the speaker. And that's pretty much it, other than we received some beautiful Herder Brother furniture and donation. We had a major feature in one of the national magazines called Arts Antiques in the Arts Weekly. And today I received a phone call from a newspaper in Florida where the donor is from, and they're interested in writing a feature on the mansion and this newly acquired furniture. So I invite you all to come and see it. It's on display on both the main floor, in the period rooms, and also on the second floor of the museum. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Susie. And anything else, Patsy? For
No, not unless anybody has a question. I'm gonna leave you.
okay. So Diane, I'm sorry we flipped we took your spot, but you can have it back now.
I'm sure. Good evening, everyone. We have been busy. So in June, we had a virtual chat with Mary E. Woolley, which was very well attended. Dr. Darla Shaw portrayed Mary Woolley, who was the longest running president of Wellesley College. And it also turned out to be a slight reunion with some of the alumni from Wellesley, which is great because you never know how these things work out, that we had in June. And next we just concluded the Little Red Schoolhouse program for the third graders. And I'm going to say that all the third grade classes participated in the virtual talks. The kids just love the interactive Little Red Schoolhouse and also going through the Fitch Law office. So, I'm sorry that they could not come on site this year, but they got the next best thing, and all the kids loved it. We've been getting mail from some of the teachers and the students on how much they liked it, and they learned a lot about that particular era. So that is over for this year. I've been working on with the curator and all the graphic designers on our next exhibit. This is Nora Changing Communities Before 1835. It's going to talk about the Ice Age through 1835, and that's the exhibit that is going to be going into the townhouse, and it's going to be permanent, and it's going to go around the perimeter of the townhouse. So come October, you're going to see a slightly different look in there. So we've been working a lot with the graphic designers, and the city of Norwalk is also participating financially in helping with putting up the exhibit, because it is going to be permanent. And you recall, we received a grant of $35,000 from the Kinetic Humanities to go towards building this exhibition. So we're all quite excited of getting this up and running. So tentatively, we are scheduling September 30th for an opening. So hopefully we'll have everything completed by then, and it may be a VIP opening that day. So we'll see where everything is in the world to see how that's gonna work out. But that's what we've been working on. And then for the fall, we will be scheduling lectures that would supplement the exhibition. So we're working on lining up our speakers, and we will also have our Haunting at Mill Hill. So we're actually going to do that in person this year. Last year we did the Next Best Thing and made a video, which turned out great, but it's going back to in person this year. And so everybody's getting excited on being able to do that. And the other thing, the 4th of July, we are going to do the bell ringing ceremony at the townhouse. We will do it virtually and have the mayor as one of the guest speakers. So we're still going to have that tradition going on. And but that's what's happening with the Historical Society. Right now, we're open. People are coming in and they're finding out the scheduled tours. And people purchasing in advance. No one's having an issue with that. So that's working out really well. And requiring masks inside, again, we're not having any issues. I think everybody's at the same place. So that's where we are. Any questions?
Just a request, Diane.
Yes, I know, you're alone.
Yep. Please.
Yes, you're on my list,
Before it
because
gets lost in the mists of time.
it's not going to get lost. I was like, it's in the closet.
You know, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Diane.
Wait, I have one quick
Oh,
question. Diane,
yes,
a couple
sorry.
years ago, pre-pandemic, there was a concert at Mill Hill, which was lovely. Are there any plans to do anything like that in the future?
Yeah, we weren't going to do it this summer, but yes, we have plans, because it was a lovely day. I know that was the first time that we did that, right in the
Great.
back.
Was it-
It worked
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I know, because that was the first time we did it. It turned
It
out
was
lovely.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Was it
We
building through community? Did that? I don't remember, but
Exactly.
anyway, it
Steve
was really
Sarasas.
wonderful.
Steve
Yeah.
Sarasas did that. He helped us. He got the group, and
Yeah.
it was a lovely evening. We had a food
Wonderful.
truck, and right on the looking over the water. Yes,
Yeah, it was great.
Plan on doing that again.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, yes. Thanks, Diane. Next up on the agenda, reports buildings is first. And I don't know if the birthday boy has something to say.
Well, I'm slightly closer on getting the fire hydrant and the 2 utility moved at the jail. I spend hours on this every week. I'm sick of it. But we're close to that. The contract, I think, is finally fully executed to actually install the new sidewalks and paving area and the stairway up the hill around the barn and the jail at Mill Hill. So I think that work will probably actually get started in late July, I would guess, and hopefully be finished in the early fall. So that's moving ahead. We also installed the Moore Garden in the back of the museum. If you get a chance to go by, it looks lovely. Hiding the giant ugly electric transformer box and fixing everything after the construction of the elevator. But so the rear of the museum is now done, and that's exciting. I think building wise, the next thing up is we have to sit down and write an RFP for design services to come up with a new plan for the front of Mill Hill to replace all the steps and redesign the parking lot and sidewalks and fix all that. So we have a little bit of money. We have money in the July 1 budget, capital budget, effective July 1, to pay for that. So we'll get that going. And the other project I'm about to work on is installing the kitchen at the museum. That needs to be done. The repairs of the veranda at the mansion, the restoration of the veranda, the contractor is going to be working on as he has time. We're doing it sort of 4 columns at a time because it's just easier to manage that way. And that's should be moving ahead in the next month or so. Work on that to continue. That'll probably take us another year to finish all that, but things are moving forward. I can't really think of anything else. So if anybody has any questions, feel free.
I did receive, and I have not looked at, some plans that were made for the jail that I can drop off with Diane at some point. Big
Plans that were made for the jail.
This is during the Bondi administration, so
Oh, okay.
hand it
Sure.
off to me. So I'll,
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
yeah, I haven't even looked at them yet. But those are in my hands now, or in my trunk.
We did do a tour for the Historical Society board because they actually had an in-person meeting because they don't have to follow the same city
Right.
rules. So we did have a tour of the jail, so people have actually seen it. So whenever the commission can meet in person, we'll do that. So because I know people are anxious to see it.
Right.
The work that's been done so far is really pretty impressive.
Yep.
Well, it's
Okay.
only taken 10 years to get to where we are. It's pathetic. But
Okay,
thank
so-
you, Eric.
Thanks, David. Don't go anywhere. Cemeteries, which is, I don't think the 3 of us quasi cemetery people have done anything. I'm wearing my,
No update at this time from
Yeah.
me.
I do have something to
drove past
report.
Comstock Cemetery just the other day, and it's still there.
yep.
And
Still
the
there.
sign is still there, and the walls are still there, and the
I'm at
trees.
cemetery camp right now. Can you have the t-shirt on?
There
In
you go.
Austin. No, anyway,
So I did meet with Jim Carter of the North River Valley Trail and Nancy Rosette of the Bike Walk Commission, who's stepping down, I guess, from being chair. But I met with them a couple days ago. They want to put new signs, little bitty signs that say North River Valley Trail. And we agreed on a couple of locations, out at the entrance coming in on both ways on the trail, a little bit bigger sign. And then we're going to do 2 small signs on 4x4 posts, just to make sure people know, yes, you're in the cemetery, you're still on the trail, keep going. They're very small signs, and we're going to put the Harbor Loop Trail signs right underneath. And they're very small. They're like, I don't know, 4x6 or something. So that's going to happen, I think, by August. And then they're going to do a whole dedication of the trail of the North River Valley Trail or something. So that's going on.
great. And now, if you could
Wait,
put on your
Dana,
other,
Dana,
yes,
very exciting. Diane, you got a call from the people that want to put a headstone in there.
oh, right, I forgot about that.
Waiting for that.
I can't remember her name even, but.
Me neither. But when is that happening?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I have to call the woman, so.
Who is this? The
What is
last
that?
person that was buried?
Yeah.
They never
I was
put the
for-
headstone in?
They just had the temporary thing, and then that dissolved. So yeah, I mean, I pretty much know right where it is.
When
Yeah,
was,
that
when
wasn't
was
like
that-
Mhm.
when was the person
two-
buried?
2010.
2009. Yep. Yep. So Dana, you really need to call her back.
Yes, I know.
It was the craziest thing.
It's crazy.
I was riding my bike in some city with Mike, and I get this phone call from this person and said, my aunt's about to pass away and she really wants to be buried with the family in Pine Island Cemetery. And I said, well, I don't think there are any plots left. And she said, oh, no, we have a plot. And I'm like, well, do you have something that proves that? And they said, yes, we have the deed. I said, I'd love to see that. And she did. And they, the funeral home people came out, and I think Peter Bondi, and they probed and found an open space and where they said it was. And she was buried there. It was great, but then they never put the tombstone on. So
Out of
that's good
curiosity,
news.
Do you remember how old the deed was?
19th century, I want to say.
It was like 1898 or something.
Yeah.
It was very old. It was 1890s, but it was clear.
When was the last burial before that?
Mr. Samus from Darien.
And yeah.
Yeah.
About
What year?
2000, I think.
Yeah,
About
2000.
2000. But then I don't think there was anything before that for years.
No.
So
Maybe the 60s.
Well,
Okay.
that's good news.
So next up, financial report. Is that all the?
I'm trying to spend all the money before June 30th, and we're pretty close. That's good. We get, and then July 1 we have this past year's capital award available to us, which is our lowest in several years, which is fine. But we're fine, and there's no real anticipated extraordinary expenses, so everything's fine.
Great. Okay, on to next thing up is old business. I know we have what's it called? That amendment for 132 Flax Hill that I sent out. I guess, Eric, do we want to talk about that during that other meeting we're having, or the other little, and Laura, the just to hash over the particulars, which I haven't looked at close enough. I just lost my page. Changing the wording in D residential zone regulations.
I think we should talk about it here.
Okay.
Dana,
Yes.
once again, it's Workforce Partners, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay.
And since I have to leave early anyway, I'll just say goodnight. So thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good
Uh, okay, so I believe I sent this out earlier today to everybody. A June 4th letter from, I'm trying to read this on my phone. Land use planning, or planning and zoning. So the gist of this is changing, I really can't read this. Proposed text amend is within the D residential zone regulations. And did you happen to look any of this up, Eric? Because
It
I think-
was pretty extensive.
yeah,
The link to item number 1 was 30 pages on its own.
oh, okay. I couldn't even make that come up for some reason. But is the gist of this, we're just changing this one, for this one property, or is it for all historic properties?
You know what, his request is, or her suggestion, I think makes sense. We were changing it just for their benefit.
Okay,
And that shows kind of narrows the zoning regulations, like spot zoning, changing zoning regulations. So I kind of think it makes sense to remove the whole thing. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, you know, you don't get a lot of time to digest it, but what I did was I saw those 30 pages. I said, I'm putting in historic, and I just went to that one page. I don't know what page it was, but there's one page that really just talks about the historic, you know, what they have to do, the narrative prepared by historic architecture. But when we went down, then when he originally came to us, there was 12,000 square feet in order to get like whatever perks you can,
Right.
historic stuff. And it says we reduced it to 9. I thought it was 6, but anyhow, I don't know. Did everybody read it? Because it has to be voted on a 2/3 majority vote by our commission, or before it goes to the zoning commission.
Mhm.
But it
Mr.
really,
Chair.
there's nothing in there that really would change much of anything.
Would it be possible for us to give a little overview on behalf of Workforce Partners?
Well, that would kind of
Yeah.
make sense.
Yes, please.
Okay, I believe, so I'm Adam Blank. I live here in Norwalk. I'm the attorney for Workforce Partners on this issue. I believe Mark Hopper, the architect, is on this Zoom. And I think Kevin Moses from Workforce Partners is also here, although I don't see him on my screen.
I'm present, Adam. I'm
Okay.
under your name because the mix up of the links.
Oh, okay. So yes, so this is, right now in the D resident zone, there is a historic preservation regulation, but it only applies to the largest lots within the D zone. You've got to have a historic structure on a 12,000 square foot lot or larger. And Workforce Partners was looking to do some improvements to one of their properties on Flax Hill that's not on a lot that's 12,000 square feet. And we looked at the reg and thought that that it might make sense that you might want to encourage preservation of historic structures, no matter how big of a lot they're on, if they're on a small lot or a big lot. But sometimes zoning is reluctant to make big changes. So initially what came in front of you was a proposal to bring it to 9,000 square feet, which would have covered our property, but not a whole lot more. Zoning came back to us. So that's what came to you folks, and you voted unanimously to support that reduction in lot size. That was the only change to the existing regulation. Zoning said, hey, we'd rather see it eliminated altogether. Can you go back to historic and see if they would similarly support an elimination of a minimum lot size? There's no other changes to the reg other than that if there's a historic structure on any size lot in the D zone, they could apply to the zoning commission for waivers of certain of the zoning requirements. If they came to the zoning commission seeking a waiver, each of those applications would still come to you through the zoning commission by a referral for your input on whether or not you feel that particular application is sort of worthy of a waiver of the zoning requirements. So in our view, it's sort of a win-win for you guys, because I think it's probably good to allow this to all of the historic properties in the D zone. But if you don't like a particular application, you can recommend that it not be sort of approved by zoning. We did do, if you'd like me to show you, I can show you, we did pull up and we have photos of the properties in the D zone that are on a historic inventory, that are on lots that are less than 12,000 square feet. And I think you'd see from them that there's some of them maybe are not exceptional properties, but I would think many, if not all of them, you wouldn't mind seeing preserved or improved. Is that okay with you folks?
Yeah, I think you did show those to us before, but it couldn't help to remind us.
So yeah, so before you saw the ones on that were larger. So now we've got, and I'll just run through it quickly so you can just scroll through.
there's about 30 or so properties that this would apply to. So that's, those were the properties. I can, if you need more detail, Todd Bryant or Mark or Kevney can give you more detail on any of the individual ones. And what we're asking for you from tonight is this sort of two parts. The first is for you to support the change of the regulation down to eliminate the lot size. So we would ask you to act on that as a recommend to zoning that they eliminate that lot size. And the second is that if zoning approves that text change, then we have it pending in front of the zoning commission currently, an application for 132 Flax Hill. And you previously were given a presentation that I wasn't a part of, but on 132 Flax, they got some feedback from you folks, made some changes to the proposed improvements to that project, and would like your feedback on the new revised proposal, and that would come in the form of again ultimately a vote from you folks on whether you'd recommend that that zoning allow waivers for 132 Flax Hill. If I can, and I'm going to let Mark Hopper talk to you about some of the sort of architectural details and the changes that are going to happen on the site. But if I can just give you a little background here. Is my screen up on your end?
Yes.
You can see that. So 132 Flax is here. Clay Street is just a couple of doors down, and that's the staircases to MLK with the Sono train station down here, and Washington Street up here, just to let you know sort of where we are. That's what the property looks like currently, with some of the proposed changes shown here, but Mark Hopper will detail those with you. And what I sort of want to just kind of highlight for you is you've had a number of zones. There are similar preservation regulations, and some of those applications have made their way through to you in the past. Those have typically had applicants seeking what I would call fairly extensive waivers in terms of let us build a whole lot more units than we would otherwise be able to put on this property, in exchange for us investing a whole lot of money into facade improvements, or rehabilitating historical structures, and on a couple of them, we'll fix the front house, but we're going to add 20 units to the rear. That's not what this project is. This is a much smaller in scope project. There's the existing sort of footprint of the building and the existing building, they're not being changed. The primary impetus behind the project was to reconfigure and really update and gut the interior of the building. And in doing that, it would have to essentially be brought up to some certain zoning codes. And in the existing property, is the lot size the lot width is not as wide as zoning requires currently. Now, we believe that we're grandfathered in even with the changes, but zoning has said, hey, if you're going to go for these updates, ask for a waiver of the minimum lot width. We're not making the lot any smaller, we're keeping it as is, but it doesn't comply with existing zoning. The zoning has a regulation that says on the sides of your property, if there's a residential property next door, you need to have a 5-foot buffer, like, not asphalt essentially. This property doesn't have a 5-foot buffer currently, and wouldn't have a 5-foot buffer when we're finished. So there's no change with that, but technically that requires a waiver as well, even though we're not sort of gaining anything out of it. It's staying the same. The zoning also requires you to have a recreational space on multifamily buildings. So that's, it's not exactly green space, but it's sort of close to that. And the existing property is sort of grandfathered in and doesn't have to have that recreational space. We are creating recreational space, but it's just short of what's required under zoning. So again, we're not really getting a huge windfall out of that. We're not going to meet the existing requirement, but it's not because we're ripping up all of the grass. And in fact, Workforce Partners owns the property next door, and as part of this sort of reconfiguration of the driveway, they're going to be creating a lot more green space. It just happens that it's on the adjacent property, so it doesn't count for us with zoning. The area that we are actually asking for sort of something that I would say is more than what we've got now, is that when we reconfigure the interior of the property, our parking requirement will change, and we would be required under zoning to have 6.5 on-site spaces. And zoning says when you're at a half a space, you round up to 7 spaces. So the one thing that we are asking for is to round down. So don't round up to 7, round down to 6 spaces. So it's sort of a half of a space reduction, and there is on-street parking here. And so that's what we're asking for from zoning as sort of what otherwise would comply. And if we weren't asking for any waivers, none of this would come to you. It would just be allowed as a right in the zone. It's only because we're asking for a waiver that it comes to you. So in exchange for those waivers, we are proposing to do a fair amount of work on the exterior of the property. But it isn't a complete, tear everything down, all the siding, put up new siding. It's not a complete exterior sort of remodel as well, because the project, I mean, I think they're getting 1 unit more out of this reconfiguration of the interior space. They just can't justify the huge expenditures, but they are putting in substantial expenditures into trying to fix this property up, which is on the local historic inventory. With that, I'll let, if Kevin, I kind of jumped in front of you. If Kevin, if you want to say a few words, otherwise we'll, if we can have Mark talk briefly about what he's proposing for the property.
I think we still need to kind of get back to, do we want to get back to voting on this commission, people? Or do you want to do it, sort of wrap it up with the 132's Black's Hills discussion?
Dana, if I
Yes.
may, I'd like to hear from Todd.
Okay.
Because I
Yes.
know Todd is intimately involved in these things, and I value his opinion highly.
Okay, so we'll kind of, we're turning this all in together, so rather than separately. Okay, so Todd? Hi.
Oh, what would you like to know, Eric?
Well, first off, I think I know you're in favor of this particular project.
Right.
I want to know how you feel about a global change to the zoning reg.
Well, to me, it seems like a good idea. I mean, if you look at Stanford, which is kind of the model for these zoning, for this kind of zoning, and it's been in place for a really long time. There is no lot size mentioned in the Stanford zoning. I mean, it's kind of self-limiting what you can do on a property, because there's only so much you can, if the lot is too small to put another building in the back, it's still going to be too small to put another building in the back. What these guys are asking to do is basically they're asking to be able to just reconfigure the interior of this building so they get 1 more unit, and to vastly improve the exterior look. All these buildings, the problem with historic buildings in general, and this really points it up, is that they were built as in this area especially. These buildings were built as single-family houses in the late 19th or early 20th century, well before there was any kind of zoning, and they were built to to the taste and the size of the time. And they've been that way since whenever this, I can't remember when this was built, but certainly, 1890s, I believe. So now to try to wedge that into existing zoning is extremely difficult. And if it's grandfathered, then you don't have that problem. But if you want to make any kind of changes, then you got to deal with all this stuff. And what this kind of change would allow would be to include more historic houses of similar types. And if you saw that slideshow, there were some pretty scary buildings in there, I'll admit, but there was also some pretty good stuff. And who knows what could happen with those. And it's been a long time since the city of Norwalk gave any kind of incentive for the preservation of historic buildings. And I think this happens to be a really good one. There is no stick, it's all carrot. So for me, to be fair, I'm a paid consultant working for these guys. But even if I weren't, I've been trying to get something like this to happen in Norwalk for at least 10 years. So
Thanks.
The fact that I'm a paid consultant, I have to disclose that, but I'm still for it.
But Todd and Adam, if you have a property that's very tiny with a historic house on it, and you didn't reduce the size that you were allowed to give you the perks, then you wouldn't touch it, would you? And that house would just remain there. I think that's the alternative, is you can fix it up, or you can just leave it.
Or you can try to get a demo permit.
Yes, right, exactly.
Right. I mean,
I think,
or let it fall apart and eventually it goes away. I mean, I know that's quite contentious, but the reality is that does happen. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I see that as more positive.
And I'll say I personally, and it doesn't affect this application, but I've been pushing a little bit, and I'm told that maybe we'll see it at some point, that the city will shift to even more and do a transfer of development rights, so that you leave these properties sort of pristine, but the owner of this property gets to sort of trade to either himself on another property or to another developer extra units by agreeing to preserve a historic structure. And that's done in other parts of the country, but not heavily in Connecticut, and it's not allowed in Norwalk presently.
Yeah, what I see here is a momentum toward coming up with various kinds of incentives to preserve historic buildings, something we've never seen in this town.
If I could say something too, Dana, I'd like to add my 2 cents. And I'm speaking now not as former commission member or redevelopment agency commission. I'm speaking as a resident of Golden Hill. This is my neighborhood. It's a C and D zone. C is 2-family, D is multifamily. And Todd is exactly right in everything he said. The issue for us is that there are all these giant houses that weren't built to be apartments, and they cut them up into various shapes and sizes. And we have, in order to keep these buildings, we have to provide incentives like this. And it does seem to be working because, as we started out with a minimum lot size of 12,000 square feet, we immediately got 2 applications. They were amazing. We brought it down. We got some more. It makes sense to me. The thing you have to remember is you're not giving anything away, because they have to come back to the commission, for every one of these projects. So you're going to see anything anybody's proposing. So you'll have the chance to significantly influence whether something happens or not. So to me, the global change is a no-brainer completely. And I fully support that, because what we want to do is try to save these buildings. And even if they aren't, like in the case of 132 Flex Hill, it's not economical for them right now to rip off all the vinyl siding and restore the original siding. But if they can stabilize the building, make it economically viable, and keep the building going forward, well, then that's the next step that will happen down the road as the whole value of the neighborhood rises. But right now we're just trying to keep the neighborhood. I'm not worried about making it completely perfect because we just want to keep things from getting torn down and have it look attractive and increase property values so that we can be, pickier as we go in the future. I know everybody had concern over 132 Flex Hill last time and what was proposed. I'm happy to see, and I'm preempting, I guess, the architect review, but I'm thrilled that they were able to find a better solution for the ADA ramp and having it not be in the front yard. So I think that's a major, major improvement. And finally, I'll just other comment, they're taking away a 3-bedroom unit, I think, and making a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom. The 1-bedroom is your extra unit. To me, that's a big win. In our neighborhood, whenever you have more than 2 bedrooms in apartments, those tend to be the problem houses because there's too many people in them. There's parties, there's 16 cars for 1 3-bedroom apartment. It's and not to, and it's not that I'm anti-family or anything, but just practically speaking, 3 bedrooms will also have more kids. Each kid is $22,000 a piece in, school expenses. But it's mainly for us, it's just the multitude of cars in the bigger apartments. And, and there's just so many more people that go into the bigger apartments. So I'm thrilled that they're wanting to take, make smaller units. That's why I like the 1 and 2 bedroom units that they're building in South Norwalk and the places like that, because, the 3 units, 4 bedrooms, they always become problem properties, every single one. And I can show you half a dozen in my neighborhood right now. And we're always making zoning complaints and calling the health department for. So anyway, I'll stop, but that's my 2 cents on all of this. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. I think, are we ready to vote on this amendment right now, commissioners?
Well, do we want to hear from Mark?
Sure. Mark? Oh, Mark, wait, Mark Hopper, yes, not our Mark.
Excuse me. I mean, you may want to, I think you probably want to do a motion for the global change and put that to bed and then look at 132 Flex Hill.
Yeah.
I think that would be clearer and, as to what you're voting on.
Right.
Okay. I move that we consider the global change to the zoning regulations
Okay.
as proposed.
I second it.
Okay, Holly, thanks. Okay, all in favor of voting for this global, Eric, can you fill in the blanks for me, the wording?
Global zoning change
Okay.
as proposed.
Oh, global zoning change as proposed in this June 4th, 2021 letter from Planning and Zoning. Okay.
Sorry, Dana,
yes.
Before you ask for the vote, you should ask the other commissioners if they have input, because I talk too much and I'm sorry about that. So
okay. Other commissioners, do we have any questions? Liz, Jordan? No? Okay, Mark.
David, I appreciate your comments.
And on Holly. Okay, so let's vote. Are we in favor of this change to this amendment change to the getting rid of this minimum requirement? Okay, so Eric, Holly, me, and I can't see.
Mark, yay or nay?
Okay, that looks like it's a universal for the 5 of us present. So, okay, so we've put that to bed, so to speak, and now we can continue with 132 Flax Hill's presentation. And I think that is Mark next.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman and fellow commissioners. I'm going to share my screen. And okay, I'll try to be brief and go through everything. I think a lot of you are aware of the project and obviously have seen parts and pieces of it. Again, as has been pointed out, the project came to us to to do an interior renovation to the building to increase the number of units. And by doing so, it really triggered a number of things that we had to comply with, just beyond and outside of the addressing any historical improvements. And because this building is now going to be over 4 units, there's a number of things from a physical building code standpoint that the owner in the project has to comply with. And I think some of them are very beneficial to the project. One certainly being is that in state of Connecticut, new residential properties, renovated residential properties, multifamily need to provide sprinklers in the building. And that's going to occur in this project. And the benefit of that is the ability to eliminate the exterior fire escape, which I think, from an aesthetic standpoint is a really great improvement. The other part of that is that it also triggers handicap accessibilities. And in buildings where you don't have an elevator, like this one does not, you're not required to provide one, but you're required to make the units that can be made accessible on the first floor accessible. And part of that is making the approach to those units as well. So as was discussed previously, there's currently a 3-bedroom unit on the first floor that's going to be split into 2 1-bedroom units. The unit at the front of the building is going to be accessed off of the front main entry porch. And then the unit at the rear is going to be accessed off of the rear porch. The interior stairs remain the same and connect to improvements on the second floor and then improvements up into the 3rd floor that's tucked up under the roof eave. But nonetheless, it triggers that requirement for accessibility. And our approach to accessibility, as you all recall, was to have a handicap ramp that attached to the front porch. And because of the size constraints, as you can see from the site plan that Attorney Blank showed you, we're pretty tight at the back of the site. So our solution at the rear was to really increase the size of the porch, but to add a handicap lift that's tucked around the building and really won't be visible from the street. So what you have here in front of you are the existing floor plans on the top of the page, indicating the improvements at the bottom of the page, 1st and 2nd floor. We've got some information here that building officials and fire marshals are looking at for applications of this kind. Where accessible egress windows are, lengths of travel for egress. We all comply with that, and certainly sprinklers are going to help from an emergency egress standpoint. From a exterior, we've obviously had a lot of focus on the front porch. Our major aesthetic improvement is really the twofold. It's the removal of the metal fire stair and any improvements to the facade to make sure that removal is certainly cared for and patched up. The other is the replacement of the front porch and the integration of the handicap ramp. As you can see, and as discussed, we were able to move it around to the side of the building. Again, to facilitate that on the south side, we had to add a request because now we fell under the recreation area square footage. So that was something that Attorney Blank talked about, was one of the other things that we're going to ask for relief through the zoning commission. So the elements are, again, a complete tear down and rebuild of the front porch. So obviously it'll be structurally sound. It'll be realignment of the stairs to align directly in front of the main entry door. So I think in this particular case, the porch will really potentially act more as a porch because your main circulation in and out of the building is through the stair, and you still have area, to the side where people entering the house really won't be navigating through the porch. So I think you'll get more usable area, certainly on the porch. Again, tucked around the side, I think it helps reduce the impact certainly of the ramp in its previous form. It was in front of the building. And I'll quickly jump to, I think the colored rendering and the materials so you can see the elements that what we're talking about. I think with the landscaping and the improvements that Workforce Partners does to all of their properties, I think is going to greatly enhance the aesthetics of the building, and will certainly help hide the ramp as it turns and goes along the south elevation. I also think that the type of posts and the bracketing is all indicative of the style of the building. And I think from a color palette standpoint, we've picked something that's also indicative of the style of the building. And I think and to the point of the discussion before is that this incentive really allows this type of work to occur. And I think it's a positive thing for Norwalk, and it's a positive thing for other municipalities to emulate, because certainly in our firm we have experienced a lot of projects where there isn't an incentive to care for historic buildings or to care for historic character. And when developers and building owners and contractors and design professionals like ourselves even don't have these incentives, the reality of cost and expediency and limited maintenance requirements tends to shift that pendulum in a different direction, where people just head to Home Depot and buy pressure treated lumber and prop up and create posts with no character defining elements or no relationship to the style of the building. So I think I certainly applaud Norwalk and applaud you folks for receiving these types of projects, because I do think truly that this is a benefit to the character and the neighborhood. And not every building is a Lockwood Matthews mansion or a Mark Twain house or the state capitol, landmark buildings that we've had the opportunity to work on. But nonetheless, I think they're just as important in maintaining characters in neighborhoods. So with that, I'll get off my soapbox and turn it back to you for questions.
Okay, I have a question for Adam. Adam, you with me? Okay, so this project is being done under 132 Flax Hill LLC. You own the adjoining property under a different LLC, presumably. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
But in fact, you guys own the whole mishpacha.
That's correct.
The issue of 132 having an undersized recreation area. Since you own the adjoining properties, will the people at 132 be able to access any of the area on the adjoining property for recreation purposes?
Adam, can I jump in here?
Or are you going to fence it off?
Sure. Good evening, commissioners. And Eric, great question. Thank you again, Kevin Moses from Workforce Partners. To answer your question succinctly, on 138, we created a recreation area that actually turned out very quaint and I think quite nice. It's in the rear of the site. That actually just to the right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, precisely. So, and I can tell you this specifically because I was working the excavator to dig this thing. dig this thing out. So we installed a nice but simple stone dust patio back there. We have a nice charcoal grill that residents can use. We put a picnic table and installed some appropriate and colorful landscaping, seasonal stuff back there as well. We actually took it even further and installed some screening just to the south of there to help buffer it from the road. We unfortunately lost a few of those plants that we'll be replacing here, you know, in the fall, if not a little sooner. But there's a staircase as well that can take you from the 138 parking area down to what we call a resident amenity space, which is essentially rec area. But there will be no barriers between the two properties, and the residents of 132 will have full access to the amenities of 138.
And will there be any amenities on 132 at all?
We have located a picnic table in the north, I guess by the page, the northwest corner of the site. I think we'll end up putting a grill back there as well. We also located a bike rack just next to the rear entry. So tried to hit the things that we have found to be most important to our residents.
And the frontage along Flax Hill Road
Yes, sir.
for 138, is that grassed as well?
It is grassed, and there's actually existing asphalt. As we've kind of shifted over this entry drive, as Adam mentioned, we'll be creating some new green space. And I think if you were to drive by 138, you would appreciate some of the landscaping that we've installed there over the past 2 and 3 years. Again, I can speak intimately to them myself, having helped select and install. But
Okay, so even though 132 may be a little shy on its own on recreation space, the people who live at 132 are not limited to the boundaries of that property for their recreation.
that's absolutely correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the commission or comments?
Just one, and this may just be of personal interest. I'm not, I'm relatively new to the commission, so but I was wondering about the color. It looked like the color of the siding is changing, but you mentioned you're not replacing the siding. Is that right?
That's correct. It's not changing. Yeah, this is this Dutch lap siding, existing vinyl siding. That's the existing color. Obviously, you know, with artist interpretation, trying to get color this light would make it look white, and we didn't want to portray that the building was going to be white, that it was going to remain as gray.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Valid
welcome.
question, Jordan.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, commission, are we ready to vote on, I guess I have to ask for a motion to vote on the new, my brain is still getting up to speed, the new format's not the correct word, for 132 Flax Hill. Who would like to make a motion? Can I
I'll
do
move it.
that? Okay. Eric and Jordan.
I'll second
Okay, so do we approve of these new plans? Let's vote. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Where's everyone else? 4, 5, 6. Oh, Holly, I can't see your hand. Okay, so that is unanimous for the new plans for unanimous for, as opposed to last month, for the new plans for 132 Flax Hill presented to us by Workforce Partners.
Thanks.
And
Thank you very much.
okay, you're welcome. Next on the agenda is now 18 Monroe Street wasn't ready to present anything yet. And also Tri-Leaf. Hello? Oh, wait.
I am ready to present if
Okay,
that
for
18 Monroe Street.
okay, thanks. Mr. Conroy.
Thank you. Let me just try to.
Somebody's got to unshare, right? Good.
Yeah.
Sharing. Come on, see my screen. Okay. Thank you for having me, Historic Zoning Commission, or Historic Commission rather. My name is Henry Conroy. I'm representing Spinnaker Real Estate Partners, who currently has an application or a contract to purchase 18 Monroe Street, as well as 18 Monroe Street being a part of a larger development, which was just approved by the zoning commission at their 6 o'clock meeting today. The purpose of this application is to place 18 Monroe Street on the local historic zoning register as a part of our application with the Norwalk Zoning Department. As a the little context of the building, 18 Monroe Street was constructed. I submitted this in, so maybe you were able to take a look at it, but I'll speak to the history of the building. It was constructed for Italian-born brothers Joseph and Leonard DeSeza, who had previously owned a succession of pool halls, restaurants, and a liquor store. They operated the Central Hotel, the previous name and operation of this building, which currently exists as a mixed-use apartment and retail space. They operated the Central Hotel in the upper floors of the building with commercial storefronts at street level. By 1929, it was listed in the city directory as the Palace Hotel, and it continued to be listed that way until at least 1964. The 1934 city directory associates the name Mrs. Elsie Boulez with the Palace Hotel. Otherwise known as the DeSeza block, is an important part of Norwalk's architectural legacy. It should be preserved and rehabilitated. It retains a high degree of architectural integrity despite the conversion of original window into doorways and the addition of a fire escape. It is a rare survivor of the many small hotels that were once found in South Norwalk. It is also a monument to the ambition and achievements of the many European immigrants who came to Norwalk in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. That is a submission that was made on our behalf by Todd Bryant, who spoke earlier during this meeting. We have an intention to restore the building to closer to its historic status. Some of these conditions are laid out within our zoning commission approval as detailed by a third-party peer reviewer that the city hired to review our application for the large development 10 Monroe Street, which includes a large-scale multifamily mixed unit multifamily development abutting the rear of this property. These are some of the details of what we intend to fix on the facade of the building. Repair, restore, paint, existing cornice, identify and match the original color revealed during restoration, new historic replica, windows with exterior STLs, remove paint from brick, repair and restore masonry as required. If you've ever gone by this building, see the brick's been painted over. It hasn't been maintained for as long as I've been a resident of Norwalk for my whole life. I'm 26 years old and I haven't seen it go through much repair in that entire time. And I believe it's been in disrepair for a lot of time preceding that, my short life. Also restoring windows, restore the windows opening, make it comply with changes to an office use, make it comply with current zoning regulations. We've removed the fire escape from the front of the building. There's an additional courtyard structure that ties into the rest of our development, new mounted light fixtures, new awnings, new storefronts, and new signage for any of the new tenants that we would have. Existing condition, kind of the drawn to scale of what we intend to do. On the rear, remove steel frame and stair escape, as we would comply with new regulation based on the restoration of the building and change of use, and removing this exterior shed, which we do not believe is historic. This is the depiction of the site from Google View. Just for clarification, the development will be on the rear and between Chestnut Street, which is the site, this site to the left, and South Main. So a little bit of a larger scale. So we would like it to be placed on the local zoning historic, or this is the point of the submission, is to have the building placed on the local zoning, local historic designation as a historic structure in the city of Norwalk. And if you have any questions about this or the larger scale development, feel free to ask away.
Just tell me, under the 1905, what's the name on that building? And again, who was he?
Yeah, let's see if I can zoom in here. This is a block. So the history that Todd uncovered for us is the building was constructed for Italian-born brothers Joseph and Leonard DeSeza, I think that's how you pronounce it, who had previously owned a succession of pool halls, restaurants, and liquor store, and they operated as a hotel on the upper floors of the building and commercial storefronts at the street level.
Okay. And so what are you going to do with the railing on the fire escapes? You're going to be able to change it? So I was looking at the pictures, it wasn't that clear. Are you changing the design of that?
We would remove the fire escapes.
Okay.
And restore where these doors were placed to access the fire escape. We would return them to their original designation as windows.
Okay.
Nicer, yeah.
Can I ask about that side building? Or in the present picture, do you have a picture of today?
Right there.
From
I
from
guess
Monroe,
the front
Monroe
view.
Street side, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's like a bodega or something.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a hair salon.
Okay. And
Sorry,
is the
sorry,
plan
that-
to knock that?
You know what? I take it back. That actually. All right. No, that's the hair salon.
Oh, hair salon.
And is the plan to leave that or remove that, or I guess I can't really tell if that's included in the updates.
This area will remain. We're in discussion with existing tenants on who would like to remain. There will be significant renovation throughout the grade level of this building. We walked it. It's not suitable, in our opinion, for inhabitants of a commercial operation, particularly this area that's closed off right now. So it's part of an ongoing discussion with the current tenants. As was detailed previously in our zoning commission hearing, it is our intention to try to keep as many of the existing tenants as we can, but also, for a hair salon, it might be difficult for them to remain while we're renovating the building. We would, it is our intent to, help in whatever we can relocate some of these tenants.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got another one. Don't ask me why. I'm looking at that hairdressing salon, and on top of it, it looks almost like a veranda. So the fire escapes went down to that as a landing.
Yep. And then it wraps around the backside of the building.
Okay, was that used for anything else, or?
As we intended, we're hoping to turn it into a
green space or something.
Yeah, there'll likely be planters, and then an area that potentially would be able to be stood on. That the full detail of how we're going to do that is not exactly drawn out at this moment. But that would be
Looks like a perfect spot to have like some green space up there, so.
Certainly green space. I mean, we would try to be able to have it occupiable as well, but I mean, we'll make planners and such. It's good for the roof maintenance of the building as well, to have greenery to absorb any rain.
If I could make a quick comment, that weird as it is, that little one-story section is clearly part of the original construction, because the cornice, that first floor cornice runs straight across it. The storefront's the same as the other storefront. Why they didn't, maybe they ran out of money, maybe they had just to do that. You never know what happens in these areas, but it is original to the building, and it shows up on that Sanborn map.
So Henry, what is the nature of the larger project that's going to go up behind that?
It is a mixed use multifamily development consisting of 150 apartment units and a mixture of retail and commercial use on the grade level.
And what kind of design for the building are you considering? Is it going to be something that's in keeping with the nature of this building, in character with the neighborhood?
Yeah. So if you've been over recently, I mean, this would be the most current example. If you look at 1 Chestnut Street, which is one of our projects, which is directly across the street, it's a wood frame building that's clad in brick veneer, and that would be the majority of the exterior of this building also has a similar brick facade to it. There are variations among the different elevations. For example, what will be along the side and behind this building, if you're walking down Chestnut Street, would replicate an all brick facade, and then along South Main as well. However, the front of the building is clad in Core 10 metal paneling, which, as I'm taking from the architect's words, is designed to play into the mythology of South Norwalk as a factory town with a lot of steel and a lot of brick. The easiest way to see it would to be able to go walk down Chestnut Street, and you can see 1 Chestnut Street, the building that's being built right now in the brick facade, and it would look something similar to that.
Okay, great, thank you.
How many structures are going to be removed to build this new apartment complex?
I believe it is 5 structures behind this building.
Todd, do any of those have historic value? I mean, because I just see all these older homes disappearing on Chestnut. You're muted, Todd.
I haven't, I just wanted to keep the cats out of the conversation. I haven't really looked at the ones on Chestnut. The one right next to this building was once a pretty nice Italianate residence with a cupola, but at some point looks like maybe the 20s or 30s. Somebody stuck that commercial, 1-story commercial section on it on the front, or 2-story actually, whatever it is, and so it has no integrity. And that's unfortunately what's happened to the other buildings on South Main, which were similar Italianate residences, 2-story Italianate houses with cupolas, but they've all had some kind of commercial disfigurement done to them. So they've lost all their architectural integrity.
I would echo that sentiment. The buildings that abut this one some of them are old. We believe this to have the most historic value and story and possibility to return to a facade that resembles what it had once looked like. And other buildings have either been completely changed or fallen into disrepair.
Yeah, this building is clearly the best of the bunch. There's no doubt about that.
And we're talking about, it's Henry, right?
Yep.
Building, this apartment building will go behind what's current, we're at the street view and this, what's on the screen now. So that'll go behind that. The building to the left where you're building this courtyard structure, is something happening? Did you mention you own that building as well?
The blue building to the side, which is a commercial building, 10 Monroe Street. I don't know if I have a picture of it really on here. You can see here so that building will be demolished as well.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
see, sorry, but you can see on there the, what used to be the Italianate, flat roofed Italianate behind it. And then at some point, looks like the 1920s, that this 2-story commercial front was stuck on it. So that's when it lost all its architectural integrity. It's neither here nor there now.
So is the building going to be like on an L, or is that where that building is that going to be green space or parking? I'm just trying to envision
where's-
what's happening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, the building to the left in this screen,
Yeah.
this one right here.
Yeah.
So that area, so out of this whole assemblage of buildings, which includes 18 Monroe Street, the 2 buildings behind it, and then straight to South Main between Chestnut and South Main. Those buildings will be demolished. This building will be demolished. There's one other building that we have on this. I don't have it in this picture, but on the far end of South Main on the corner, it's 8 Monroe Street. There's a Spanish food establishment that's been there longstanding. That building will also remain. In between will be a large courtyard with outdoor seating, and there is a part of a drive aisle and additional greenery. Behind that courtyard and behind these 2 buildings is where the multifamily building will be constructed. And it's like a, how would I say, it runs from Chestnut to South Main and then has 2 lanes that run back, but no large facade, like not a full square. There's a kind of an opening on the rear end of the building.
Very good. Thank you.
Henry, would you view that opening at 10 Monroe as like the front of the development?
It's a little bit further over. The courtyard there's actually a parking lot adjacent to 10 Monroe. So in the center between the courtyard, or in the center, probably the center of the building, what I would say is right on the edge of 10 Monroe Street, somewhere around here, but kind of back in this area. There's beautiful, lush, a lot of trees, outdoor seating. There is a drive aisle through the middle to mitigate traffic, which is a zoning concern. But framed, the front of this soon to be existing building, hopefully, is framed by the existing 18 Monroe Street and 8 Monroe Street at the front. So that's kind of the intention, that you have these historic buildings at the front of the building with a new building offset back with a courtyard in the front. So you still remain that there are these structural corner pieces that have existed in the community for, in this case, over 100 years, 18 Monroe Street, and will be refurbished to much similar to their historic status, which the level of restoration is being detailed out by the zoning commission.
And the plan for the building, I think you mentioned it, but it is office space?
Not completely firmly designated to be office space in 18 Monroe Street, but that's what we think would be a good use.
Okay.
Cool office space in a historic building, and then trying to likely some form of retail or restaurant in the grade level.
Right. But no more apartments in that building. It's not zoned for that.
No, we can't actually. I think we've maxed out on our density of zoning per the parcel, so we shouldn't be able to add anymore.
Okay, well, it seems to me it doesn't hurt to have something put on the historic register rather than not put on the historic register.
Yeah. So at this point, commission, are we ready to vote to have this placed on the Norwalk Historic Resources Inventory list?
Moved.
I
And then you-
second.
Okay. And how do we vote for that? 1, 2, 3, where is everybody? 4, 5, is that all of us? You and, oh, and Lisa showed up. Okay, so that's unanimous for placing this on the Norwalk Historic Resources Inventory list.
Great.
The Sessa block. Whose address I forget.
18
18 Monroe. Okay. Street.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I have Tri-Leaf down, but that's, they don't usually come to or show up at this sort of meeting. That is about 4 Elmcrest, adding, it looks like 3 feet of tower, cell phone tower to existing cell phone antennas that are already up there. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like something we really need to object to, although it's not ideal, but things are already up there. Adding 3 more feet, how do we feel about that? If you've all looked at some of the, sort of gotten an idea, either been there or Google views, etc.
Yeah, I took a look on Google Earth. According to their plans, it's not going to be that much above the top level of the building.
Right.
But are they planning on a metal frame cell tower? Or are they going to do one of those hideous fake trees?
I think I think are they adding, I'd have to look again, 3 feet. So I don't think how they could add on a Sequoia Semper Verizon, I call them. So it's just somehow either new or adding to what is already there. I'm not sure how many antenna they have up there. They do have a little array up there already.
How do they choose to pick those buildings? I mean, it's really kind of ugly looking.
Well,
Wherever
whether
you
it's-
stick them, you know.
I know why we didn't vote to have those put on the water tower, the water sphere. That would be
Yeah.
so logical and give us, the city, money, but I guess the landlords were willing to have that put there.
Todd's got his hand up.
Yeah, Todd's got.
Oh.
Maybe they get free service.
Yeah, if this is this looks like a section 106 issue. That's a part of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. And what it says is that anytime there's federal money or permits in a process or in a project, and every cell tower has to go through this because everyone requires a federal permit. So you, the Historical Commission is what's known as a consulting party. So you get to make any kind of comments you want. And one thing, I mean, they don't have to do it, but at least you can say something. But it's worth giving it a try to ask them to enclose, if possible, those antennae, all of them. I mean, look at what Viking is doing or has done across the street for 3 Elmcrest. Look at what Workforce is going to do I don't know if you've seen any of that stuff yet, but workforce is going to come before you for 1 Elmcrest Terrace. 3 Elmcrest Terrace, as you know, was the first save for the Norwalk Preservation Trust. So you have a row of really, really nice late 19th, early 20th century buildings directly across from this. I think the technical architectural term is but ugly buildings that then have these cell towers on top of them. So I think anything that you can ask them to do that would mitigate those antennae would be worth a try.
3 Elmcrest, is that what the workforce guys referred to as the barracks?
I think that
The
was
gray-
Eric, actually.
The gray
those
slab sided
buildings-
buildings?
No, well, that was, yeah,
Yeah.
that's next to, that's new construction. But 1 Elmcrest is the one with the fire escapes on the front.
Yeah.
3 Elmcrest is the one that Viking just did and put the building behind it. And
I'm sorry.
5
the-
Elmcrest
what's
is the
four-
brick
what's
one
4
with the
Elmcrest?
full height neoclassical
Yeah, so Eric-
portico.
Eric, I think you're thinking of, they look, compared to this place, they look more like a happy camp compared to the building across the street, which is, somehow they made it look even more visible to the world by painting it white. Or I don't remember what it looked like before. I
think
guess
it's
I
gray.
just couldn't see it, gray.
Yeah.
So that blended in better. The
Yeah,
barrack-
those buildings along Connecticut Avenue
Yeah.
were new construction, but what Workforce is doing at 1 is like they always do. It's just improving what's already there.
Okay, I'm still not getting a picture of which building is 4 Elmcrest. That's my problem.
Well, it's across the street from the really nice row.
Okay,
Some kind of as you say, barracks like 50s or 60s.
Soviet bloc architecture.
Yeah. I mean, it could be Soviet, it's that good. It's,
Okay.
I think it's more,
And
a little more
that's where these cell towers
Bulgarian.
are. So what would they enclose them in?
I don't know. I mean, just ask.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
up to them to figure out how to enclose them.
And does anybody have any idea how many existing towers are on there now?
A lot of them,
Yeah.
A lot of them. So
6, 7, 8 antennae. I mean, it's pretty ugly. It's a shot, they don't have to
Yeah.
do it, but it's worth a
Right.
try. You have the legal right to ask them.
Yep. Yeah, I forget what the deadline is for any comments on the
yesterday,
building. Yes, what?
yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah.
Are you just saying that? Oh, yeah, I can't, it is either closing in, I have to look at the
Yeah, I mean,
correspondence.
I would say something about, based on the improvements in the condition of the row of historic buildings across the street, any effort that you could make to enclose the existing,
For
And
for
new and
aesthetic
existing-
values.
yeah,
Okay, so I'll run that by her, Lindsay Hollingsworth.
Okay.
I would just write them a letter and send it to
Yeah.
them. Don't ask because they're going to say, oh, no, we can't do that. But if you, once you've got your consulting party, so once you have an official response to their required request, then they have to deal with it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I move that the commission send a letter to Trileaf requesting that the antennas be enclosed to try and improve the aesthetic value of the neighborhood, given the extensive rehabilitation work being done on immediately adjoining historic properties.
Perfect.
Yep.
Wordsmith.
Go get them.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. How can I call you Word?
So one last- I need a personal aside to Lisa right now. You with me, Lisa? Okay, so we've got two new members in the Dragoon unit. We did a ceremony up in Bolton on Saturday. We went out to lunch afterwards. I'm sitting with the two new guys. And one of them is Mike Deller, who was a docent at Mill Hill. The other one is a guy from Colchester. And I'm talking to them about the reuniting and dedication of the Nathan Hale Fountain and Trough. Turns out the new guy from Colchester, his uncle was the crane operator who put the pieces back together. Small world.
He must work in Bridgeport. That outfit out of Bridgeport.
Anyway, that's it. That's my aside. Thank you for allowing me to use permission time. Move to adjourn?
Second? Oh, can I do that? Oh,
So,
we have a second, third. Oh, David has something else.
I just have one comment.
Yeah.
I just want to congratulate the commission and just have you reflect a moment on what really happened tonight. You know, in the last meeting, you guys pushed back on workforce housing on their design. And, you know, guess what? They came back with a better design. So, you know, you exercised your power and it had real effect. And I think that's really significant. And, you know, kudos to you all. And that just shows, you know, the power that you do have as you go forward, because I know it's kind of scary, all these applications suddenly hitting us and potentially even more with the change you made tonight. But I think it's really good for Norwalk, what you guys did. So thank you.
Thanks, David.
And thank you, David, and happy birthday.
And Dana,
Thank you.
before we adjourn, do we have any update on 96 East Ave?
It looks like it's been a stop work and I walked through there yesterday. It's not good. Todd, have you walked through there? I mean, I took a lot of pictures I can send you. later.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I mean, he came to me before. I mean, I know that building because my friends had offices in there for 30 years. But he bought the building, Brad Craighead, and he was gonna, take off the ironwork. And I showed him that picture that's from the Norwalk history book. That's from the 1850s that shows that building. It was Asa Smith's house with the ironwork. So then he was a big fan of the ironwork, and he's looking to buy a print of the lithograph and all that. So he said, I said, so you're going to keep all the, the box itself, the Asa Smith house. And he said, yeah, but there's all those additions in the back. And I said, well, those are later additions. They're not particularly significant at all, in my opinion. So he said, okay. And the next thing I know, it looks like it looks. He took out, it's a shell.
Yeah. And
So
all the.
it was like, I said, I talked to the guy and said, Brad, man, what? When you said take off the stuff in the back, I didn't think you meant, everything short of the facade and a couple of walls. He said, well, yeah, I guess I wasn't clear.
Yeah,
So-
and so that's an example of something that didn't come before.
Phil
us.
Ireland is all
Yeah.
over. He's making him get a demo permit. He's making, but done is done.
Yeah, they did something. I don't know if you saw, Dana, over by you, over on Soundview Avenue. They
Yeah.
they're like totally enclosing the front of that house after they gutted it. I'm like,
And that sat for a bit. So that's all. This is one of those fishy things about people renovating within an inch of the house's life. And also on Roten Avenue, they are commencing work on that. I know after it was sitting empty for a long time. But again, it's not really how much we put a camera on every street to see what's going on. It's hard to keep track. And whether people just don't know or just do whatever they want is.
Well, they don't, they don't want to know.
Yeah, oh, that's okay.
And the thing is, to your point, the zoning reg that you just improved tonight is something that will keep a lot of that from happening, because it's a financial incentive to do it right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
private
so-
homeowners that are doing stuff to their own house, unless it's in a historic district, a local historic district, and that's another story. There's not much you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, so 96 East Avenue, yeah, again, the beams, original beams are lying out back. I don't know, it's just a huge mess now.
Yeah, the only advantage to me to that is that I did not expect an 1850s house in Norwalk to be balloon construction. I would have expected it to still be post and beam, but it's certainly not. I mean, it's in fact, I'm going to go down there and document it, because you don't get to see that. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate that we're getting to see it the way we are, but you don't get to see that kind of construction laid bare very often.
Right. And they did have to shore up some of the foundation with, they just sort of slopped on some new concrete, I guess, to stabilize a bit.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at this, because Brad has generally done really good work. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but anyway, yeah, thanks, Mark, for bringing that up again.
Yeah, thank you.
But
I think we're just gonna have to be on top of the guy.
right. Okay, so we already had a motion to adjourn. So who's giggling? Eric?
Of course.
It's not you, it's me. Okay, so all in favor of adjourning? Do we have to vote on that? I forget. Yes, okay. That looks like I'm not even gonna check to see if that's what's the word?
Unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous.
But Holly has left.
Wait a minute. Okay, so that's it.
So
Until,
Lisa went in
what?
for Holly.
Okay, yeah. Until next month or sooner. I expect to see you at,
Good night, everybody.
okay, good night, 8:53. Good night. Bye.